All right, so now let's take a look at the main solo. We'll break this down. It's a long solo, so the first phrase goes like this. So this starts on the high E string, bend up a whole step from the 17th fret, release, followed by 15 on the high E. 14, 15, 14, slide back to 12. 15, and then 14, 15, 14, 12, slide back to 11. 12, 14. B string now, pre-bend from the 15th fret, so strike that, release, followed that with 12 on the B string. Same idea from the 14th fret of the G string, bend up, release, followed by 12. And then 11, 12 on the G, back to 9. Okay, so we've just done this. Next phrase. So here we'll start on the G string, 11, 12. On the B string now, 10, 13. 12, 13, 12, slide back to 10. 13 on the B string, bend up a whole step, and then release and strike it again. 12 two times. Bend up a half step from 12 and release, followed by 10. And now jump to 15 on the high E, bend up and release. So here's what we've just done. Next phrase. Once again, we're going to jump around quite a bit. Here's the next idea. Starting on the 7th fret of the B string, bend up a half step and release. Following this, we'll play on the 9th fret of the G twice. Repeat. 8th fret of the G string, bend up, and then 8, slide to 11. Back to 7 on the B, up a half step and release. Following this, we'll play 9 on the G. Shift positions once again. Half step bend from the 4th fret of the G string, and then 4. 5, slide to 9. And that's what we've just done. Okay, next idea. So on the B string, 7, 8, 7, followed by 9 on the G. From the G string, play 8, bend up a half step, and then 8, slide to 11. Now from the 9th fret of the G string, bend up a whole step, and then release and strike the 9th fret again. And right where that note happens, which is an E note, another guitar enters. It's an overdub here, and we're going to play the really fast section. The song builds up from here. Okay, so let's go back now and review everything that we've done so far. This can be considered the first half of the main solo. Okay, so now the song builds up. I'm going to switch to my back pickup, the treble pickup, and here's the next phrase. A little bit of harmonic minor here. That's E minor, but with a D sharp note. We've played it before, but it works great here. We're going to play on the 8th fret of the G string, followed by 9, and then 7, 8, 7 on the B, 9 on the G, 7, 10 on the B, 7, 8, 7 on the high E string, 11, 7, slide up, and then play 8, 11. So we've just done this. Now slide 12 up to 14 on the high E, 11, 12, 14 slide to 15, 12, 14, 15, 14, 12, 15 B. Little tricky here, 14 on the high E followed by 16 B. Now 12, 14, 12 on the high E, 15 B, back to 12 on the high E. From the B string, 15, bend up a whole step, release, pulling off to the 12th fret. All right, so here's what we've done so far for this section. Once again. All right, so now we're into the full groove here, and here's the next phrase. So we'll start on the 15th fret of the B string. We're going to bend up a whole step. We'll do that 3 times. On the 3rd time, we'll release, pulling off to the 12th fret. Followed by 14 G, and now repeat all of that. Now shift positions. From the 17th fret of the B string, we're going to bend up a whole step twice. Now we're going to strike 17 of the G and the B string, just kind of pinch those 2 strings together. Once again, from the 17th fret of the B, bend up a whole step. Grab 15 on the high E. Back to 17 B, bend up a whole step. Do it again, this time release, pulling off to the 15th fret. Back to 17 on the B. Okay, so here's what we've done so far. Next phrase goes like this. So here we'll bend up a whole step from 15 on the B string, grab 12 on the high E, 15, 12 B, pre-bend from the G string 14th fret, release, pull off to the 12th fret, and then 14, 12, 14. So we've just done this. Next phrase. So on the G string, 12, 14 with a slight bend, back 12 to 14, 12. Now we're going to bend 14 from the G string up a whole step, grab 15 on the B string, and just go back and forth between those 2 notes 4 times. So we've just done this. Next phrase. So we have some muted notes in here. Starting off, pre-bend from the 14th fret of the G string, followed by 12 on the G, 14 D, 14, 12 on the G, couple of muted notes. So we've just done this. And now 12 on the G with a slight bend, 14, 12, 14 on the D with a couple of muted notes. Okay. Now 12, 14, 12 on the G, and then 14 D, 12 on the G. D string now, 14, 12, 14, and a couple of muted notes. Now once again, we're going to repeat that. 12, 14, 12 G, followed by 14 on the D. Now we're going to do 12, 12 on the G, 14, 12 on the D. Okay, 14, 14 on the G, and then 12 to 14. 12, 12 on the B, and then 14, 12 on the G. And then 15, 15 pull off to 12 on the B, followed by 14 G. So we're just climbing up the pentatonic scale here. And then 2 hits on the 12th fret of the high E, followed by 15, 12 on the B. 2 hits on the 15th fret of the high E, followed by 12B, and then 12E, and then 15 on the B string. And then 15, 14 on the high E, and then 12, 15, 12 on the high E. So let me go back a little bit. Okay, our next phrase is going to be repeated 4 times. So this is going to be a bend of a whole step from 15B, 12 on the high E, 15, 12B. Now bend a whole step from 14 on the G, grab 12 on the high E, and then 15, 12B. So we've just done this, and play that 4 times. Next phrase, or actually here's the rest of the solo. So this starts off with a whole step bend from the 15th fret of the high E string, and then 15 without the bend. And we're going to overbend here, so it's roughly a step and a half. Followed by 15, 12, 15, 12, 15B, 12 high E. And now 15 on the B string, bend up, then grab 12 on the high E, and then 15, 12B. Okay, to the G string, 14th fret, bend up a whole step, release, pulling off to the 12th fret. 14th fret of the G, bend up, grab 15 on the B string. Back to the G string, 14th fret, bend up, release, pulling off to the 12th fret, followed by 14 on the D string. Last 4 notes, 14, 12 on the G, 14 on the D, 12 G. All right, that's a big, long solo, but let's go back and try and piece it all together. Okay, here we go. And right where that note happens, if you want to play the rest of the solo, you would do the fast part starting from this note here. So. And that's the solo, so there you have all of the highlights from Sweet Child of Mine.